a couple of things that I found really nice today. So you can lie down either with your knees bent or your legs long. I'm going to mute everyone. So remember, you can press your space bar and hold it down if you would like to speak. So the first thing is just to settle down onto your back, however you're most comfortable. So that could be with your knees bent, it could be with your legs long. And before we actually start on the neck things, we're going to be coming back to another Thich That Hanh meditation. So we used one last week, which was in it, didn't it? We had the images of being a flower, being a mountain. This one this week is a bit more rooted in just our body and our breathing. So you may find you prefer it, or you may miss the flowers and the mountains. So we start in a very similar way, maybe bringing your hands onto the front of your body. And yes, do make sure you're warm enough. Beata, putting on a layer is a good idea. So hands on the front of your body and just settling down and tuning into your breathing. And as with meditation last week, we start with the same focus. Breathing in, I know I am breathing in. Breathing out, I know I am breathing out. So see how that feels. We're not doing anything to our breathing. We're not trying to change our breathing in any way. We're just bringing our attention to our breath. And certainly for me, that having my hands on the front of my body is the most helpful way to do this. Breathing in, I know I am breathing in. Breathing out, I know I am breathing out. So feeling your body responding to your breathing. And so you could just be repeating to yourself very silently, in as you feel the breath come in, and out as you feel the breath leave you. And just let's do this for 2 more cycles of breath. Breathing in, I know I am breathing in. Breathing out, I know I am breathing out. In and out. And we're going to come back to this little focus at some periods during the class, and then there'll be some other ones we'll come to a little bit later on. But we're going to come now to thinking about the neck and the shoulders, and just for a moment, see how do your neck and your shoulders feel? How much can you let your shoulders settle on the floor? Notice if your neck and your shoulders do feel at all stiff or tight. And then what we're going to do, just listen carefully to this, because we're going to let the head roll from the center to the right and then back to the center. So just over to the right a few times. Normally we go from side to side, but I'd like you to, break it down a little bit. So from your head being in the center, let your head roll over to the right and then back to the center. And repeat this a few times and keep it very easy. So you're not trying to go as far as you can. You're very much staying within your comfort zone. So let the head roll to the right. Let your head come back to the center. And do this a couple more times. And if you notice as you're doing the movement any tightness or discomfort, then again, just do less. Try and see if the movement can be a bit more comfortable by making it smaller. And then settle your head in the center, and we'll do the same thing going to the left. So let your head roll to the left a little bit and then back to the center. And so noticing how it feels on this side. And why it's really helpful to do one side on its own is that we can then maybe be aware that if we are feeling a bit tight around the neck and shoulders, it might become clearer which side of us is a bit tighter or even painful, depending how stiff we feel. So a couple more times, let your head roll from the center to the left. And then finally letting the head come back to the center. And then you're going to bring your hands up and you're going to bring your fingers and you're going to use your fingers to start massaging around along the back of your neck. So when I was doing this, I was just pressing my fingers into my neck, going up to the base of my skull, and then sort of pressing down either side of my spine. But you can do whatever really feels comfortable. And I was also going from the neck to the sort of tops of the shoulders, so either side of the neck where there's quite a lot of muscle there that can get very tight. So you can be pressing your fingers in, you can be circling the fingers a little bit. You could just be sort of rubbing or stroking. It depends how you feel and what feels good. So whatever you're doing, make sure it feels good and helpful. So you can be going up and down a couple of times. So from the neck, pressing either side of the spine, the vertebrae, up to the base of your skull, seeing how that feels, and then back down again, back to the sort of tops of the shoulders. So I mean the first bit of the shoulders, sort of either side of the neck, not out to the shoulder joint, but those muscles either side of the neck that can get very tight and knotted up. So just a little bit more of pressing or circling into these muscles. And then let your arms come back to rest on the floor. Let a breath come in, let a breath leave you. And now you can start to let your head roll from side to side, so to the right and to the left, and see how that feels. Again, keep it comfortable, keep it easy, don't feel that you need to push anything. And as the head rolls a little bit to the right and a little bit to the left, keep letting the back of your shoulders settle on the ground. And then from letting the head roll from side to side, you're going to, once again, settle your head down in the center in a comfortable place. And then we're going to actually then come and start to move around the pelvis. So Emma, this might be quite helpful for your hips actually. So keep your right knee bent and lengthen your left leg out on the floor. So we're going to come to this movement where we press into the right foot and we let the pelvis tilt over towards the left. So Emma, you need to lengthen your left leg out on the floor, unless you've frozen and you've already done it. So this movement that you're all familiar with, as we exhale, we press down into our right foot. The right side of the pelvis comes away from the floor. The pelvis tilts over towards the left. And the left leg stays long and heavy on the floor. So if anyone's not sure what we're doing, you can always look at me. We've got the right knee bent, we've got the left leg long. You're pressing into your right foot, letting your pelvis tilt towards the left. And as you do this movement, just make sure that you're keeping your shoulders nice and relaxed and soft. So do that perhaps once or twice more on this side. Then you can swap your legs over. So lengthen out the right leg. Maybe have both legs long for a moment. Lengthen out the right leg. Quite nice to lengthen them both out. And then when you've done that for a breath, a cycle of breath, let the breath come in, let the breath leave you. Then bend your left knee and stand your left foot on the floor. And so exactly the same on this side, pressing into your left foot as you exhale. Feel the left side of the pelvis coming away from the floor. Feel your pelvis tilting to the right. And this movement is very, very helpful for starting to release tension around the pelvis, for opening us out in the front of, would be the left hip joint here, and also finding some length down through the side of the body. So it can be very therapeutic. So once, twice more on this side. And then you're going to let that go and bend both knees. So you've got both knees bent and both feet standing on the floor. Letting your breath come in, letting your breath leave you. Come back for a moment to breathing in. I know I am breathing in. Breathing out. I know I am breathing out. Perhaps just for 2 more cycles of breath. Breathing in, I know I am breathing in. Breathing out, I know I am breathing out. Connecting with the feeling of your breath in your body. And then start to, if you've got your, I think you've all got your knees bent and your feet standing on the floor, start to tilt your pelvis a little bit. So you're tipping your pelvis away from your head and towards your head. So what you'll be feeling is your lower back flattening out as the tailbone tips off the floor, and your lower back arching a bit away from the floor. So again, if you're not sure, I think you all know this movement well. If you're not sure, then have a look at me. And so if you're thinking about from the front of your body, your pelvis tips towards your head and then away from your head. And whenever you're ready, from this tilting movement of the pelvis, you can move on into bridge pose. So we're going to be rolling up and down into bridge pose 2 or 3 times. So just seeing how it feels. And again, keep coming back to the neck and the shoulders. Can the neck feel free? Can the shoulders feel heavy and relaxed? And just notice how it feels as you pick your spine up off the floor, as you place your spine back down onto the floor, vertebrae by vertebrae. And we're going to carry on with bridge pose, but listen, because you're going to be rolling down in a slightly different way. So you can carry on rolling up, picking your spine up off the floor. But then as you roll back down, I'd like you to go off to the left of your spine. So try and place the left side of your back down onto the floor rather than the spine. And then roll back up through the spine. And then when you go back down again, place the right side of your body down onto the floor. So it's not really the side of your body, it's the right side of your back. So go off to the right of your spine and place the right side of your back down onto the floor. Roll back up through the spine and then go back to the left. So you're rolling down off to the left of your spine. So you imagine you're making these, I always think about it as pathways. So we have this central pathway of the spine, but what we're doing now is we come back down, is we're making a pathway down to the left and a pathway down to the right. And you're seeing how that feels. And there isn't really a right or a wrong about this. So don't worry about how you look. Just try to feel what it's like to place, to go off to the side and place the side of your, the sort of side of your back, one side of your rib cage down onto the floor. And there might be places I sometimes find, particularly around the waist, that I can't get my back onto the floor. So there may be gaps. So perhaps just do this a couple more times. Perhaps, once more on each side. And you might notice differences from one side to the other. All the time, make sure you're keeping your shoulders relaxed. You're keeping the neck feeling long and free. And then what you're going to do is come back to just rolling up and down through that middle path of the spine and see how that feels. So it might suddenly feel easy. And it might feel different. It might feel different having rolled up and down, having rolled down through the sides of the body. Maybe it feels different. And just a couple of times rolling up and down through the spine. And then the next time you place your spine back onto the floor, just see how it feels. Yes, and if you feel that you would like to fold your knees into your chest, that's something you could do. Yes, and some of you are rocking side to side. That's very nice. Or you could just be having a few quiet breaths. You don't have to rock from side to side. And you might want to stay there. The other thing you could do from here is to take your legs up to the ceiling and give them a shake out. So if you'd like to do that. Very nice. Get to see lots of nice feet and a few pairs of socks, sadly. So it's gone a little bit chillier. And then just come to settle in lying. And we're going to come back one last time to that Thich That Hanh focus on the breathing. So lie either with your knees bent or your legs long. We're going to be coming off our backs in a moment. So one last time, bring your hands onto the front of your body. Breathing in. I know I am breathing in. Breathing out. I know I am breathing out. And so for a few cycles of breath, how does it feel to come back to the breathing? And again, notice how your neck and shoulders feel. You could let your head roll a little bit to the right and to the left. But keep feeling the in and the out breath moving through you. Breathing in, I know I am breathing in. Breathing out, I know I am breathing out. So we're going to start to move a little bit more. We're going to come onto hands and knees. So you could roll onto your side. We're going to be on hands and knees, not for very long. And then from hands and knees, we're going to be making our way over into standing. So yes, so I wouldn't bother sort of organising your devices for yourself on hands and knees. If you want to change where they are, you could do that for standing, but you don't need to. So coming onto hands and knees, and I'd just like you to see, how do your cat movements feel? So how does it feel to round your back to the ceiling? Can you let your head hang? Let the neck release? How does it feel to dip your spine down to the floor? How do the shoulders feel? How does the lower back feel? What do you notice in these movements? Can you use these movements in a way that helps to release tension from your body and helps you to feel a bit more free and fluid? And then what I'd like you to do is a bit of your tail wagging. So you could, I was thinking, and I was doing that, you could be wagging your tail from side to side. You could also do little fishes. That's what I felt quite drawn to do. So swinging your lower legs from side to side, if you like that one. And in a moment, we're going to be coming up through dog pose into standing. So if you feel that you need to give your hands a little shake out before you do that, you can just sit your hips back, sit back in kneeling or in up kneeling. And let's just en route to dog pose. We're going to be doing some more of this a bit later, tucking your toes under and just a little bit of rocking forwards and back. So we're going to come into standing and then we're going to be coming back down onto hands and knees and doing some movements here. So just see here how it feels to rock forwards and back, and then from your rocked back place, you can pick your knees up off the floor. You can start to lengthen your legs out into dog pose. We'll have a few breaths in dog, and then from dog on into a forward bend and standing. Let your head go in dog. Again, that helps to release the neck. A couple of big exhalations maybe, and then when you're ready, walking your hands in towards your feet. So all of your weight's in your feet, let your head go, let your arms go. And then depending how your back feels, you can either roll up into standing, or if your back is feeling a bit vulnerable, walk your hands up your thighs. And we're going to end up in standing. So please feel that if you want to say anything, you can unmute yourself by pressing your space bar. Otherwise, coming to settle in standing. And we've still got this focus around the neck and shoulders. So we're going to do a couple of things here. First of all, we're just going to settle in standing. So have a look at your feet, hip width apart and parallel. And then start to do a little bit of swaying from side to side. So probably one of the most important things we can do for our shoulders is to really be able to drop down through our feet. We could also give our hands a bit of a shake out. So anything we can do that helps us, can you do this? Can you sway and can you shake your hands at the same time? Might be too many things. Shake your hands. A bit of swaying, you might be settling. Shake the hands out a bit more. And then what I'd like you to do, without bringing more tension into your shoulders, I'm always slightly concerned about this one, you're going to let your shoulders come up and then drop them down with an out breath. So you can breathe in, let your shoulders come up, drop them down again. And one more time, let the shoulders come up as you breathe in, drop them down again. So again, I've been talking about standing being a process, and probably releasing the shoulders is very much a process. Let's come on into this one. This is good for the shoulders. Swinging the arms, slapping the hands onto the body, trying to let the arms be as sort of free and easy as possible. Good, a couple more times. Okay, let that go. Maybe give your feet a little shake out and then settle your feet back down. So we're going to come into some of these reaching movements, but we're just going to work with one arm. So what I'd like you to do is reach up through your right arm. Let your weight come into your right foot, but the left foot's still going to stay on the ground. It's just going to feel lighter. And then come out of that. And repeat that a couple more times on the same side. So reach up through the right hand. You might even feel that your left heel comes away from the floor, and then release. And then again, reach up, shift your weight into your right leg, left heel maybe comes up, left arm's very heavy. And then release. And let's do the same on the left side. So reaching up, shifting your weight into your left leg, right arm's very heavy and floppy, and then release. And then again, reaching up, be very heavy through the right arm, reaching up and then release. And then one last time, reaching up, and then release. And then I think, I'm just checking whether I'm saying we're going to a forward bend next. Yes, and then we're going to go into a forward bend. I think, and just let the arms be floppy and the head be floppy. So settling your feet down, starting to look down, starting to roll down into a forward bend. Can you let your head be heavy? Can you let your arms be really heavy? You could bend your knees a little bit, or you could bend your knees a lot. Yes, just floppy, floppy arms and head. You could shake your arms out when you're down. Shake your hands out, shake your arms out, down in the forward bend. And then let a breath come in as you exhale down into your heels, rolling back up into standing. And then when we're in standing, we'll come into that one that we do more often, where we're reaching up into one, we've got both arms up and we're reaching up into one arm and then the other. So as you reach up, you shift your weight into the reaching side. So we get very long through the left and then long through the right. A couple more times, reaching up. And then again from here, we're going to sweep down as you exhale into a forward bend. Let your arms go, let your head go, be nice and floppy. So that might mean bending your knees a lot. Yes, that's very nice, Sandra, lovely. Nice floppy forward bend. So down into your forward bend. Yeah, that's it. So if you haven't gone into a forward bend, do have a couple of breaths there, be very floppy. And then let the breath come in. As the breath leaves you, sink into your heels, roll up into standing. Good. Give your feet a little shake out. And then once you've shaken your feet out, settle your feet back down again. We're going to do this one where we start to rock our weight. If I go sideways, it's probably better. We're starting to rock our weight forwards into the balls of our feet and letting our heels come off the ground. Okay, so we've got both feet on the ground, that's important, but we're bringing our weight into the ball of the feet, the balls of the feet, and bringing the heels off the ground. And we'll repeat this a few times. So coming forwards onto the balls of the feet, keep the shoulders relaxed. It's helpful to be looking ahead of yourself, finding a point to focus your gaze on. Might be as you come up on the balls of your feet, your gaze goes a bit higher. Let's see how it is to stay up there for a couple of breaths. So come up onto the balls of your feet and stay. Let the breath come in, let the breath leave you. Come back down again, give your feet a little shake out. So we'll do it once more. We'll come back up and this time we'll take the arms up as well. So let a breath come in. You can let your weight rock forwards onto the balls of your feet. Once you're steady with your heels off the floor, exhale, let the arms come up. Good, and then drop your shoulders down away from your ears. Let the breath come in, let the breath leave you. Good, very nice. Let the shoulders soften and relax as much as you can. And then from here, again, as you come down, let the heels come down, let your arms sweep forwards into a forward bend. Let your head go, let your arms go. Be nice and floppy in your forward bend. So that's it. Good, lovely, very, very nice. And if you want to, from this forward bend, if it would be nice for your back to come on into a squat, you could do. If your heels come up, you can either let them come up or you could slide something under your heels. So again, you don't have to come into a squat, but if it would be nice for your lower back, it usually is. Bending the knees forwards, open the feet, letting the pelvis drop down. Yes, do pop a book or a cushion or roll up the back of your mat under your heels. And then we're going to reverse this movement. We're going to come back up into standing. So yes, let your heels come off the ground, remove your block or book or whatever it is. So you're up on the balls of your feet. And then use your fingertips for support. Start to send your heels down and your sit bones up to the ceiling. Your back in a forward bend. And then exhale, rolling up into standing. And let's just arrive for a moment in standing. We're going to come into, so it's a little sequency thing taking us down to the ground. But before we do that, let's just settle in standing and see how it feels. So you might look at your feet and then you might close your eyes if you're happy with that. Can you drop your shoulders? Can you let your arms hang? You can sway a little bit to the right and to the left. So I always like to sway in standing. Again, you could pause in the center. You could do that one where we lift the shoulders and drop the shoulders a couple of times. So lift the shoulders, and then as you exhale, drop the shoulders, and maybe once more, breathing in, breathing out. I'm just going to check, is everyone okay? Are we okay? It's very weird having you all muted, so do speak if you want to. You're going to come to the back of your mat now. So we're going to have our hands in prayer pose. We're going to be moving down onto the ground, doing a few things down there, and then coming back up again. So hands in prayer pose, like we would for sun salute, feet hip width apart. Let a breath come in, and as you exhale, you're going to take your hands down and then up. Just be long and tall here, letting the shoulders drop. And then as you exhale, curling down into a forward bend. And from this forward bend, you're going to be walking your hands forwards into dog pose. And see how this dog pose feels. And have a couple of breaths there. Bend your knees as much as you like. So any of the things you do in dog pose to make it feel a bit easier, bending both knees, bending one knee, resting through the arms. And then come down onto hands and knees from your dog pose when you're ready. And we're going to be coming into lunge. So I'd like you, first of all, just from hands and knees, to step 1 foot forward between your hands. Okay, so this is sort of stage number 1. So we've got our foot between our hands. I would actually, for the lunge we're doing today, have your toes tucked under in your back foot, unless that's really uncomfortable for you. So your knee is under your heel and your front foot, that front foot's planted. We're giving the pelvis to the ground. And then you're going to start to walk this foot out to the side a bit. So that front foot is walking to the side a bit, so your hands can both come down on the inside of your foot. Yeah, and you might be on your fingertips. It's quite nice if you can be on the flat of your hands. Let the breath come in, let the breath leave you. There is a further stage, if you're really loving this, where with your back toe tucked under, you'll pick your back knee up off the floor. And this becomes very stretchy indeed then, through that back leg thigh. But if you've got your hands on the floor, you can really be resting down through your arms, a bit like plank pose here, which does help a lot. And then let your knee come back down. Walk your foot back in between your hands, and then just ease yourself back onto hands and knees. Okay? And then we'll do the same thing on the other side. So you don't need to turn around, but I will, just so you can see and I can see you. So step the other foot forwards, first of all, in between your hands. And you may need to walk your back leg back away from you. And I'm just thinking, I'm slightly obsessed with lunges at the moment. And I'm sure it's some counterbalance to feeling a bit constrained and wanting to lengthen out through the front of the body. Have a few breaths in this first stage of the lunge with your foot between your hands. Toes tucked under in the back foot if that's possible. And then walk your front foot out to the side a bit more so that your hands can then both be on the inside of your foot. And it doesn't matter how your hands are on the floor, whatever is comfortable. Could even be your knuckles, that's better. Flats of the hands. So a few breaths here. So your foot's on the outside of both hands now. We're giving the pelvis to the floor. And then from here, we can have that delight of letting the back knee come up. So very stretchy. And the more, if you can have your hands on the floor, be a bit like plank pose through the hands. That can make it a little bit easier. Good. Good. And then from here, let that back knee come down, walk your foot back in between your hands, ease your way back. And in fact, from here, you're going to fold all the way back into child pose, just for a breath or two. Okay. So see how it feels to be in child. It's a very different movement than lunge. Now the front of our body is very folded up and the back of our body is long. We can rest the elbows and the forehead on the floor. You can let the breath come in, let the breath leave you. And we'll spend a bit longer in child pose in a moment, but from this child pose, I would like you to plant your hands on the floor and then come up onto hands and knees. So it's going to be a longer hands and knees if you planted your hand in child. And from this longer hands and knees, we're just going to start to think about or explore this rocking of our pelvis forwards towards face up dog. And depending how your body feels today, you might want to make this quite tentative. You might not be going all the way. Really see, how does your lower back feel as you come into face up dog? If your lower back feels that it could do with a bit of lengthening out, then tuck your toes under, round your back to the ceiling, rock your hips back over your heels, let a breath come in, and then travel forwards, rounding your back to the ceiling. Watch your pelvis come forwards until your shoulders are over your hands, and then let the pelvis go. So we can come into face up dog, rounding the back like that if our lower back needs it. We could reverse that. We could rock back, tucking the toes under, looking back, rounding the back, let a breath come in, and then travel forwards again, rounding the back until we end up in our face up dog. So you could do one more face up dog if you liked. You could, yes, tuck the toes under again, rock your hips back over your heels, let the breath come in, rounding your back to the ceiling, looking at your pelvis as you travel forwards. And from this face up dog, you have a couple of breaths here, but from this one, you're going to fold back into child pose for a few more breaths. Or if you prefer, if you're not so keen, child pose doesn't feel so good today and you prefer to be in kneeling, that's another option. So just choose for a moment between child pose and kneeling. And come back to our little focus from the Thich That Hanh meditation. So in child pose or sitting in kneeling, breathing in, I know I am breathing in. Breathing out, I know I am breathing out. So we're feeling the inhalation as it expands within us. We're feeling the out-breath as it empties us. Breathing in, I know I am breathing in. Breathing out, I know I am breathing out. So one more cycle of breath here in your child pose or your kneeling. And then we're going to be making our way through a dog pose and a forward bend back up into standing. So when you're ready, you can come back onto hands and knees, just a normal length apart hands and knees, so shoulders over your hands. Knees under your hips, tucking your toes under, letting the breath come in. As you exhale, rock your hips back over your heels, pick your knees up off the floor, on into dog pose, seeing how this dog pose feels. You can bend both knees, you can bend one knee at a time. Walking on the spot, having a few breaths in dog. From dog pose, you'll be walking your hands in towards your feet, into a forward bend. So all of your weight is in your feet. You can let your head go, let your arms go, bend your knees as much as you like. We're going to roll up like we do for sun salute, touching the backs of the hands together. So as you exhale, rolling up, touching the backs of your hands together. Your hands come straight up the front of your body, straight up to the ceiling. Drop the shoulders, breathe in, and then as you exhale, a big circle with your arms all the way around and back into prayer pose. Good. And then have a little bit of a shake out. And you're going to come back towards the middle of your mat. And we're going to come into another balancing movement. This is, this is Ruth's balance. So we're going to do this one where we start to reach up. Let's start to reach up into our right arm. So reaching into the right arm, shifting the weight into the right leg and foot. The left arm's heavy and floppy. And then from here, we're going to catch the top of the left foot. So the left knee is bent, we're catching the top of the left foot. Right arm's reaching up to the ceiling for a cycle of breath. And then we can bring the right hand down to our breastbone. Just let the breath come in, let the breath leave you. Good, have a few cycles of breath in this balance. Seeing how it feels, hand on the breastbone, holding your left foot, letting your left knee drop towards the floor. Good, come down, have a little shake out. Shake out the arms, shake out the legs. We let the shoulders go. And then settle your feet down, so looking at your feet. And then bringing your gaze forwards, looking, finding a point to focus your gaze on in front of you. Reaching up through your left arm, but looking forwards rather than up. Right arm's heavy and floppy. All of your weight's coming into your left leg. So eventually the right heel comes up, that's it. Then the whole of the right foot, we catch the top of the right foot. Maybe have a cycle of breath with the arm up, and then bring your hand to your breastbone. Let the right knee drop towards the floor, letting the breath move through you. How does it feel to settle in this balance? Very nice, everyone. Good. Beautiful balancing. And yes, in your own time, come down, have a little shake out. And then we're going to come to, so settle in standing, and I'd like you to come to hands, maybe both hands on your belly, and letting your gaze come up as your belly comes forwards. So we're going to be moving in and out of this a bit. So think about these standing back arches. Our pelvis comes forwards as we look up. And then let your weight come back into your heels, roll down into a forward bend. All the way down, let your head and your arms go. Let a breath come in, exhale, roll back up into standing. So have one hand, maybe your right hand on your belly and your left arm up by the side of your head. Now, what's it like here? To let the pelvis come forwards as we look up. It might be helpful for some of you to bend your knees, let your tailbone drop. And then forwards again, back into that forward bend, all the way down. Let the arms go, let the head go, let a breath come in. Exhale, roll back up again. So this time you've got your left hand on your belly, your right arm up by the side of your head. It can be quite wide out to the side, that's fine. Let the pelvis come forwards. Bend your knees, drop your tailbone if you like, that helps. Look up. Roll forwards again, all the way down into your forward bend. My feet are quite wide apart. They're a very wide hip width apart, which helps me feel a bit more stable. So rolling up again. So yes, do feel that if that's, it's definitely a good one not to have your feet too close together. So Ruth, I can't see your feet, but sometimes your feet, especially in this one, they can benefit from being wider. So the final one here is both arms. What's it like to have both arms up and the pelvis coming forwards? Maybe both arms up means we have to bring our pelvis forwards. Just a breath or so, and then all the way down into a forward bend. And this time you can go down into a squat as well if you like, which would probably be nice for the lower back. So on, down, into a squat if you like. If you need to slide something under your heels, whatever you've got to hand, a cushion, a book, rolling up the back of your mat. Having a couple of breaths here. And then again, reversing this movement to come back up into standing. So shifting your weight forwards onto the balls of your feet, sliding your block or your book out, and then sending your heels down and your sit bones up into a forward bend, and then rolling up into standing. So we're going to come to the backs of our mats again. And we're going to go down and do a little bit more on the floor, on hands and knees. So, and we'll do our sort of sun salute beginning. So coming to the back of your mat and hands in prayer pose. So just settle here for a moment, feel your footprints on the floor, feel the contact of your hands, feel the flow of your breath. Let a breath come in as you exhale, take your arms down and then up. Drop the shoulders, let the breath come in, rolling down into a forward bend. Have a couple of breaths there. So let yourself arrive in your forward bend before you move on. And what we're doing this time from our forward bend is we're going to walk on into dog, but make it a slightly longer dog, because from dog you're going to go on into plank pose. We'll see how that pans out. So you will need to go make it a longer dog perhaps than you usually do. You can walk on into dog. You can feel yourself in dog pose. Our pelvis is sticking up towards the ceiling. And then to come into plank, we're having to shift our weight forward so our shoulders come over our wrists. If we're not quite long enough, we might have to shuffle our feet back. How does it feel to come into plank pose? And you don't have to stay there long. Gaze's level is just sort of beyond the fingertips. And from plank pose, come down and sit back into kneeling if that's possible, or if it's not, sit up. So either be an up kneeling or sit your bottom down over your heels and give your hands a shake out. So we will be coming back into plank in a moment, but we're going to do a couple of other things first. We're going to come back to hands and knees and tucking the toes under. And I think I mentioned this earlier, this rocking forwards and back on hands and knees. So you can come back to this, rocking forwards, rocking back. And then the next time you rock back, stay back, and then walk your hands in towards your feet. And then let your knees come off the ground. So you're up in, I suppose it's like a sort of squat, isn't it? But with your heels off the ground. And at this point, can you spread your toes out? Use your fingers to spread your toes out a bit, because they can get very bunched up. Spread the toes out. And then with your fingertips on the floor for some support, do a little bit of rocking here. So taking your knees towards the floor and away from the floor. And oh yes, we're going to be going on into one of our lovely foot stretches, which I've been introducing back into a few classes and finding very challenging. So this one, where we sit kneeling with our toes tucked under, if this is possible for us. And our shoulders lovely and relaxed. Oh, what a joy. Okay, come forwards, untuck your toes and drum your feet on the floor. So this is much nicer, this bit. I'm just going to turn around this way for a better view. Drum your feet on the floor. And then lengthen each leg out and turn behind you. So lengthen one leg out, tuck your toes under, and then do the same on the other side. And then I hate to break it to you, but we're going to do all of that again and see if we can get that foot stretch to feel any more comfortable. So hands and knees, toes tucked under, rocking forwards and back. Here. Good. So easing into the feet. There's lots of easing here, isn't there? Into the hip joints, into the knees, into the feet and the ankles. So rock your hips back over your heels, walk your hands in towards your knees, pick your knees up off the floor, spread your toes out. So it's particularly the little toes here that get a bit stuck behind their neighbour. And then we can do a little bit of rocking here. Let the knees go down and And then, yes, you know where we're going this time. We're coming into this delightful one. Let's see how it feels a second time. Can we drop the shoulders? Can we smile ever so nicely? Oh, delightful. And then we'll come forwards onto hands and knees, untuck the toes. This is the nice bit, drumming the feet on the floor. Lengthening each leg out behind you in turn. So lengthen your leg back, tuck your toes under. And then we will, from here, see how it feels again to come back into plank pose. So we're already there with our shoulders over our wrists. So we can lengthen one leg back behind us and then add the second leg in. So trying to feel we're in this long straight line of plank pose. We're looking down at the floor, slightly forward of our fingertips. Toes really tucked under, heels really stretching away. So the legs are quite active as well as the arms. Not the easiest place to breathe in, but we do our best. For another breath or two, if you can. And then once more, come to sit in kneeling or be up in kneeling and give your hands a shake out. So we're going to once more come back into standing through dog pose and a forward bend. I thought in this dog you could do the one-legged dog poses if you'd like. They might be quite nice by now that we're a bit warmed up. So bringing your hands back onto the floor, nice big handprints, tucking your toes under, exhaling, rocking your hips back over your heels, and this time carrying on so that you pick your knees up off the floor, you come up into dog pose. So perhaps give yourself a couple of cycles of breath in a normal dog before you come on to the one-legged dogs. And just make sure if you do the one-legged dogs that you're still letting your head hang. Maybe really reaching up into one heel as you've taken a leg off the floor, if you want to do those. So I'll leave that up to you. I'm going to come have a little look at you. So it's going to be one-legged dogs or normal dog, forward bend, and then standing. Very nice. So these one-legged dogs are just, again, this feeling of expansion, of taking up space, of not feeling constrained. And yes, from a one-legged dog to a forward bend to rolling up into standing. And what are we doing here? Yes, just have a little shake out when you're up in standing. Yes, I forgot my sun salute arms, but if you did them, that's very nice. So I've got a little bit of a sequence that we're going to do in standing. I think we can do it all together. So We're going to be in a moment stepping forwards on the mat. So just one step. So just have enough space in front of you that you can do that. And then settle down, feet hip width apart and parallel. And just come to a little bit of swaying. So I'll turn around again. So come back to my favourite swaying side to side in standing. Weight over the right leg, weight over the left leg and foot. Side to side, letting the shoulders drop, letting the arms hang. Just letting ourselves arrive in standing. So standing as a process. Little by little, we perhaps feel more fully that we're here. Okay, so let's let the weight rock into the right foot and then into the left foot and pick up the right foot and step forwards. So we've got our hip width distance still. We've got, yeah, the side to side hip width distance, and then do a bit of, yes, this rocking forwards and back. So we're going for a walk, but we're not going anywhere. So if you're not sure, you can look at me. First of all, the right, you come onto your right, your front heel, and then the ball of your back foot. Front heel, ball of the back foot. And then eventually you're going to be settling both feet down onto the ground. It's rather nice to be rocking forwards and back. But eventually we'll let both feet settle. Have a look at your feet now. Make sure they're both pointing forwards. Make sure you've got enough of a hip width distance to feel stable. Bring your hands onto your pelvis. So we're thinking about the pelvis not moving now. How is it to have the hands on the low ribs and to turn a little bit? But only turning from the waist up, not the pelvis, not the legs. What about hands on the shoulders? Can we turn a little bit? Good. What about fingers on the crown of the head? Very steady from the waist down. Stay where you are. I'm just going to go side on again. Stay where you are, release your arms and bend your front knee. Back leg stays straight for the moment, and bring your hands into prayer pose at your breastbone. And then from here, we're going to come into this funny sort of exaggerated running position where the front knee's bent and we bring the back leg off the floor and we bend the back knee. So like a cartoon runner. And then as you exhale, you're starting to reach back into your left heel, straighten both legs and tip forwards. And see how that feels. Yes, in that little balance. Very nice, beautiful. So you're reaching back behind you with your left heel. Your hands are at your breastbone. You're sinking into your standing knee, into your standing heel rather, letting the back of the knee open. And yes, not necessarily want to stay in for a very long time. Very nice, it looks lovely. And then yes, a bit of a shake out. And then we'll do the other side. So come back, feet hip width apart. Settling, shifting your weight from side to side. Letting the shoulders drop, letting the arms hang. Let the weight come into the left foot. Let the weight come into the right foot. Pick up your left foot, step forwards. So we've got that hip width distance, sideways distance. Shifting forwards and back. So we're again in this movement where we're rocking our weight forwards. We're rocking our weight back. The back heel comes up. The front of the front foot comes up. We come onto the heel and the front leg. Good. And then let's settle the feet down. So settle the feet down, bring your hands onto your pelvis, try to feel really steady down through the legs, have a look at your feet to make sure they're well planted on the floor, hip width sideways. Can you bring your hands onto your ribs? So just like we did on the other side, we're going to turn from the waist up with the hands on the ribs. We're going to have the hands on the shoulders and try that. We can bring the fingertips to the crown of the head, but remember we're trying not to let the pelvis move. Trying to feel the spine rotating to the right and to the left. Good. Release the arms. Bend your front knee. For the moment, keep your back leg straight. Bring the hands into prayer pose at your breastbone. We're going to be shifting our weight onto that front foot, coming into that sort of cartoon running position with the back leg. So finding our balance with our front knee bent and then starting to reach back with the right heel, straightening both legs, but not locking, tilting forwards. Breathing. Very nice, everyone. Beautiful. Really nice. Lovely. Good. So again, this balance might not be one we stay in for very long at all. And then we can come out. What are we doing? Oh, yes, I actually meant, we'll do it now. You were going to have a forward bend after each side. I'm sorry, I forgot that after the first side. So I think come into a forward bend now. The lower back often benefits after that balance. So feet hip width apart and parallel. Rolling down into a forward bend, letting the head go, letting the arms go. Heavy and floppy. You can then do your weeping willow movements in your forward bend. So where you're sweeping your fingertips in a big sort of semicircle around the fronts of your feet. So yes, sweeping to the right and to the left with your arms. Just make sure it feels comfortable in your body. Imagine that when I say weeping willow, we imagine our arms are the branches of a beautiful silver grey weeping willow trailing its branches into a stream or a wide river. Settle in the centre for a moment, let your head go, let your arms go, let a breath come in, roll back up into standing. Have a little shake out. We're just going to one last time settle in standing. Do a bit of swaying. We're going to be raising and dropping our shoulders, and then we're just going to settle with our breathing in standing for a few cycles of breath. So looking at the feet, rocking your weight from side to side, letting your arms hang. It's just feeling yourself in standing. We can settle a bit more in the center. We can let a breath come in, lift our shoulders, exhale, drop the shoulders down. We'll repeat that a couple of times, so breathing in, and one last time, breathing in. Good, dropping the shoulders. I quite like in standing when I'm focusing on my breathing to have one hand on my belly and one hand on your chest. So you could do that. You could let your arms just hang. Just gathering your attention into your breathing. Breathing in. I know I am breathing in. Breathing out. I know I am breathing out. In, out. So have one more cycle of breath here in the standing. Breathing in, I know I am breathing in. Breathing out, I know I am breathing out. And then we're going to come down through one last forward bend, on into squat and on into cobbler pose. So again, if you haven't had a block to hand or a book or a cushion under your heels and you want one, then now's the time. And so one last time, we won't spend so long in the forward bend, we'll be making our way down on into cobbler pose, but do spend a bit of time in the squat if you like. So feet hip width apart and parallel. We can roll down into our forward bend. And then once we're in the forward bend, we just start to bend our knees. It's quite nice to bend the knees and pause halfway with the chest on the thighs. And then carry on going down, letting the pelvis come down. Perhaps the heels come up, perhaps they don't. If you want to slide a block or anything under your heels, you can do. And then it's up to you if it feels helpful being in your squat. Have a few more breaths here. Emma, it's probably for you coming on into cobbler pose, as we're going to be doing a few hip things now. So from your squat to come into cobbler pose safely and comfortably, put your fingertips on the floor behind you. If you do have a cushion, you'll probably be pleased of it. So you want to lower your bottom down and come to sit in cobbler pose, leaning back onto your hands. And see how this feels. So we're going to be coming in a moment on into pinwheel, and I've actually got a new little thing in pinwheel I was playing around with today, which I thought you might like. So from here, let one knee come on top of the other knee and let that top leg slide back. So first of all, we're going to do our familiar pinwheel things. We're going to do a little bit of circling. But we'll do a bit more circling in a moment. So we do a little bit of circling and then turning towards this leg that's going out to the side and coming down into our pinwheel forward bend and having a few breaths. So let's do that, and then we'll have a little play around with this new pinwheel thing that I was enjoying doing earlier today. So have another breath or two in your pinwheel forward bend. We're giving the weight of the body down to the floor through that bent leg. And then slowly walking the hands back in towards you. And then what I was doing, which I really liked, was this one where you give yourself a hug, and I was letting my head hang. And then I was circling here. So I'm very rounded in my back. I'm letting my head hang, I'm giving myself a hug, and then coming back to the circling. And I just thought, oh, this feels very nice through the shoulders. A little bit circling in one direction and then the other. And just, yeah, keep letting your head hang forwards. So you're very rounded in your upper back, wide across the back of your shoulders. And we'll do, that looks lovely. We'll do this again on the other side. So you can release your arms, you can lean onto your hand, that's the way your knee's going out to the side. You can slide your top leg back on top. So we're in mermaid. And on into cobbler pose for a moment. So maybe just see how cobbler pose feels. And then on over into side 2 of pinwheel. Bit of circling. Yeah, it's a bit of normal circling. Very nice circling, I can see. Good. Circling one way, circling the other way, and then turning so you're facing the other leg now, this knee that's going out to the side, folding forwards over that leg. Letting your breath come in, letting your breath leave you. It's being heavy and settled. You can have a few more breaths in your pinwheel forward bend. It's up to you. Whenever you're ready, you can walk your hands back in towards you. If you can remember, it doesn't really matter which arm you hugged yourself with on top last time. You can swap arms. It doesn't really matter. It's not really the end of the world. So back to this one. So in this one, I've sort of got my hands on my shoulders. It could be your hands on your ribs. But that might be, yeah, or the hands on the shoulders, hands on the ribs, head hanging forwards, this bit of circling, feeling very wide across the back of the shoulders, back of the neck lengthening out. Lovely. And then we'll come, you can let that go. It looks very nice. So I'm hoping people enjoy that. So come back, slide that back leg on top of your front leg, open your legs out in cobbler pose. Let's just do a couple of things in cobbler pose. So, because we're going to do a little bit of sitting and breathing in a moment. So the first one could be rocking from buttock to buttock, sit bone to sit bone, or all the way over if you're Emma. So we do the rocking. And then we could do the leaning. So leaning, leaning. So both sit bones stay on the floor, and then you can make it into a bit more sort of side stretch by leaning onto your hand, taking your arm over. So these ones are quite nice. We could be here all day, couldn't we? But let's just think, because we're now going to come and we're going to come to a couple more sections of the Thich That Hanh meditation, and I'd like you to sit comfortably. So probably not cobbler pose, could be cross-legged, could be kneeling, you could have your back against the wall. So this is when you make yourselves comfortable. So I'm getting a cushion to sit on, comfortable and warm. So we won't be here long, but I thought it's nice to just see how does it feel to sit and focus, to focus on our breathing and sitting. And then we're going to be doing a similar thing lying down with some different sections of this. So let's tilt that forwards. So just settle yourself, make sure you're comfortable. Maybe a little bit of swaying, if I dare say, more swaying or circling. All these things are very unsettling. Good. So we're settling down in kneeling, in cross-legged sitting. We could have our back to the wall and our legs long. Going to be here for that long. Resting your hands on your thighs, palms up or down. And just closing your eyes and settling. So we've got two little sections of the meditation here. The first one, aware of my body, I breathe in. Relaxing my body, I breathe out. So as you breathe in, aware of your body. As you breathe out, relaxing your body. So just see how it feels to sit with that focus for a couple more cycles of breath. Breathing in, I am aware of my body. Breathing out, I'm relaxing my body. As we breathe in, we feel our body. As we exhale, we just try to let the body soften, settle, releasing tension. So let another breath come in and another breath leave you. And then smiling to my body, I breathe in. Easing my body, I breathe out. So let's see how that feels. So smiling to my body, I breathe in. Easing my body, I breathe out. So when I'm smiling to my body, you could let your mouth actually smile, because that will help your face relax. Smiling to my body, I breathe in. Smiling to my body, I breathe out. So smiling to my body for the inhalation, and I think I said the wrong thing, easing my body with the out breath. So just maybe 2 or 3 more cycles of breath. Smiling as you breathe in, easing your body as you breathe out. And then let yourselves fold forwards a bit. Bring your hands onto the floor in front of you. Let your head fall forwards. Yes, if you want to touch your forehead to the ground, you can do. And then we're going to come to lying down, which I'm sure would be a popular move. And we're going to do a little bit more from this meditation and some simple quietening movements. So settle down on your back, and you can either lie with your knees bent or your legs long, and put on warm things. And we're going to revisit some of the very first things we did to begin with. So the easing the head from side to side and massaging the neck. So hopefully we feel our necks and shoulders feel a bit easier now, but yeah, it's nice to come back and see how they are. So settle yourself down. Good. So just like we did at the beginning of class, what I'd like you to do to start with is let your head roll from the center to the right and back to the center. So just a few times let the head roll from the center to the right, back to the center, over to the right again. Seeing how that movement feels, keeping it very easy, stay very much within your comfort zone. And then the same thing to the left, letting your head roll from the center to the left and back to the center. Maybe just once or twice more to the left. And then finding a comfortable place to settle the center of the back of your head on the floor. And bringing your fingertips back again to massage the back of your neck, the base of your skull, sort of backs of the shoulder, sort of tops and backs of the shoulders, either side of the neck. So wherever it feels nice for you. Sort of self-massage, I think, particularly at the moment where we can't really have any other sort of massage. This sort of self-massage can be very nourishing, you know, just, yeah, a way to look after ourselves. And you can do a little bit more massaging if you like, but when you've done enough of that, you can then release your hands, let your head roll now to the right and to the left. So the massaging is very helpful for encouraging blood flow in to the neck and the shoulders, which, you know, if we're feeling a bit tight there, is really what we need. And then settling down, maybe having your hands on the front of your body. It's a very beautiful little section now in the meditation. Calming my body, I breathe in. Caring for my body, I breathe out. Calming my body, I breathe in. Caring for my body, I breathe out. So stay with that for a few cycles of breath. Calming my body, I breathe in. Caring for my body, I breathe out. And if your legs are long, you're going to bend your knees and bring your feet to stand on the floor. We're just going to do a couple of more simple movements lying down and intersperse it with these little parts of the meditation. So first of all, here with your knees bent and your feet standing on the floor, let your knees tilt to the right and to the left. I think we've got all the way through to this part of the class, having not done this one yet. And maybe you sneaked it in earlier on. So very easy, very comfortable. Think about this caring for your body, letting the knees tilt to the right and to the left. And then you can either keep your knees bent, or if it's comfortable, lengthen your legs out. The legs long, it maybe makes the next one a little bit easier. We're going to do the one where you bring your arms up into prayer pose. You make a triangle with your arms. So just keep this one easy, because sometimes it can feel a little bit tense, but it's very nice for the neck and shoulders. So you've got your hands stuck together, you've got your elbows straight, you've made a triangle with your arms. You're now going to rock from side to side across your upper back. Let your head go with your arms. Keep thinking about caring for your body. So you want to keep this feeling of massaging across the back of the shoulders. If somewhere feels very tight, just do it a bit less. Lovely. Good. Couple more times. Don't let the hands slide. If your knees are bent, don't let the knees tilt. And then release your arms. Let the arms come to rest on the floor. If your legs are long, bend your knees once more. Stand your feet on the floor again. Come back to letting your knees tilt to the right and to the left. Keeping it easy, keeping it comfortable. And then settling down, we'll come back to another little part of the Thich That Hanh meditation. This one's very nice one for focusing on the breathing. So knees bent or legs long, hands on the front of your body. Breathing in, my breath grows deep. Breathing out, my breath goes slowly. So breathing in, deep. Breathing out, slow. So make sure in breathing deep, it's not at all forceful. It's just giving yourself plenty of time for the breath to travel very deeply within you as you inhale. And as you exhale again, the breath leaves you slowly, slowly. Breathing in, my breath grows deep. Breathing out, my breath goes slowly, deep and slow. And then I'm just going to, if you want one more chance to move, you can do. You can just carry on lying quietly. We're going to come back to our very first Thich That Hanh in a moment. If you wanted to, you could here with your knees bent, feet standing on the floor, do a little bit of tilting your pelvis up and down. And from tilting your pelvis towards you and away from you, you could roll up and down into a couple of very easy bridge poses. Again, coming back to something we did at the beginning, but keep it easy. And if you just want to carry on lying quietly with your breathing, that's absolutely fine. So just a couple of easy bridge poses if you like. How does it feel to roll up and down through your spine? It might be that after doing a couple of easy bridge poses, you want to fold your knees into your chest before you settle down for this last little section of breathing. So settling down, and we're going to finish where we started with breathing in. I know I am breathing in. Breathing out. I know I am breathing out. So do put a blanket on if you're feeling at all chilly. Make sure you're warm enough. It's impossible really to focus on anything apart from feeling cold if you're not warm enough. And probably hands resting on the front of the body to help you connect with your breathing. Breathing in, I know I am breathing in. Breathing out, I know I am breathing out. In and out. In and out. And thank you, everyone. I'm just going to turn off the recording and